Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Patriot Patch Company and forpatriots.com. Okay, how's everybody doing tonight? And did you all survive last week?
Doing good.
We're good.
Doing good.
Awesome. I was going to make the show title something about lot, since it is 458, but I decided not to. Anyway. So what's everybody been up to?
Not much. Just helping Nick move in and getting all of his stuff out there. And more and more I look around the house, more fun stuff of his I find. Other than that,
Throw it in the back of the truck. Take it out there next time.
that's what we're going to do.
How about you, Jim? What you been up to?
Well, I was talking to a gentleman from down under. He's actually the developer of a program called Reloading Studio that I tried for a while. I kind of lost track of it. Anyway, His first name's Serge. And I just want to give him a shout out. But he also gave me some ideas for some ways to test 22 ammunition in my wrong app. In my Winchester Wildcat.
Yeah.
Like this here. We were talking about prepping ammo and stuff like that. But his suggestions are, it'd be interesting if you test the velocity and precision of ammo versus other ammo with a suppressor, which I had never thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And then he suggests getting at least 10, if not 20 shots for a good data sample, and then do standard deviation on the group size.
Yep.
Big enough sample, like say 50 rounds or something like that. Yeah, that's a pretty good standard deviation.
Mm-hmm.
It's also quite costly, but that's another story.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're shooting. So.
Yeah, like to say, Serge is pretty well into load development and stuff like that. And his program, he's wanting to move it into the cloud. His program is a way of database to help record the various aspects that you can do with your brass and your ammo and your powder and your primers and your components.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for example, like we were talking last week, guys were talking about putting a piece of tape on their powder canister when they bought it, when they opened it, and then, of course, when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like much, but, it's like you can get quite a bit if you get into the nitty-gritty and the math and stuff like that. You really can pull out a lot of data out of your chronograph.
Mm-hmm. So, Nick, other than moving in, you done anything or just moving in?
I really just finished moving in just the other day. I was going through some boxes and stuff like that, and I found this. I picked up while I was down in South Carolina over the 4th. Going to give it a try sometime. It's Palmetto's AAC company, American Ammunition Company. It's a 77 grain Sierra Match King loading they make. So,
oh, cool.
Interested to try that out, see how it does. So.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know.
Other than that, that's about it. Getting ready to start working on some projects here, get some more electrical ran out in the garage.
Yeah.
And then get going on the bench. That's probably the first other big project.
There you go. Sharonda, how about you?
Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah,
I don't know at what point I became everybody's first aid responder, but last week I missed the show because a friend broke a foot and wouldn't go get it checked. So I came over and looked at it and had to tell them the foot's broke. I had frogging this past weekend with Wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so fun. I didn't because I was actually a little exhausted, so I slept while they frogged, and I was the backyard barista. But I think we had about 15, maybe it was a total of 20 ladies show up to camp.
Awesome.
And frog, and they harvested 14 frogs, and so at our events, we don't just take people out and say, "Here, let's go harvest some things." We had the game warden come out and go over rules and regulations. We had a biologist come out and go over species, and we walked them through the habitat and showed them where to look for things during the day. Then when the night came, we actually took them out in action, and in the morning we got up and cleaned frogs and fried them. So the theme was fried frog legs and pancakes.
Yum.
I also got a few people that I'm working with in inner city for both youth and adults that I recognize they don't necessarily have the liberty to come to events, and I'm trying to encourage women that you don't always need events to do
Mhm.
things. If you know, if three of y'all like the same thing and comfortable with each other, do it. So I'm going through those notions. I have a group of Black women that I'm taking camping next week, which was actually interesting. We met up and I showed them how to log on and pick the campsite, what to look for. We went over a list of basic things you should buy, but don't buy things. Use my stuff to see if you even like it. And
Right.
then we're going to go do it. And my new adventure, I got in on a managed hunt draw locally to hunt 15 minutes from my house, which would be kind of cool because the city needs deer population control out here. And so hopefully me and my group get drawn and we'll be hunting 15 minutes from my house, but I'm also going to try to hunt from a saddle. So I'm working on that. And
Ooh, that'll be a challenge.
yeah, but be in a tree. Look for some funny pictures posting out on the gram. I may even drop one here of me
You may want to explain
practicing.
what the saddle is, though, because when you say hunt from the saddle, some people think you're on a horse.
I wouldn't mind doing that, but no, it's a tree saddle. So basically, it looks when you put it on, it looks like a diaper, but it's like a lineman's belt that you may see utility workers using. And I use climbing sticks to get up into the tree. And I'm working on a platform. They're actually kind of expensive, so just a little 6x6 something where I could rest my feet on if I felt like standing for a second. And you stay suspended in the tree from the saddle and just kind of hang out and swing there. And then when you're ready to come down, you rappel down. I've rappelled a little bit, so that's not new to me. But hunting from a tree will be new to me. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have a private spot anymore, so I'm going to be doing a lot of hunting on public land, and I feel like I'll have more of an advantage from a trees because I can kind of see who's around me potentially, or I could see things coming in that maybe won't scent or see me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal, and that's pretty much it. Outside the other everyday stuff, work's busy. I had to take a nap today. I was that kind of tired. So
Nothing wrong with a nap if you can get one in.
yeah, I think I'm just tired from all the healing and ripping and running because I'm resting before my next surgery. So that's pretty much it. I got a lot of events coming up with Wilderness. My role is going to be changing here shortly too.
Yeah.
It's on the table for me to be moved up to vice president. So we'll see how that goes. Has to be voted, and we have to wait till the first of the year. So we'll see.
There you go.
Yeah. That's all I got for now.
All right. Paul, how about you?
Well, went shooting this week. Talked to Tom Peterson. Sent Tom Peterson a present. So Tom Peterson now has a
dime,
so he can shoot dime size groups now.
That's awesome.
Isn't that nice?
It is.
Also sent him a little bit of brass that he needed for 22-250. So he got a kick out of that. that's it. And then just some target shooting. That's all. We'll discuss that in a little bit. But wife is out of the hospital, so that's good. She's back home,
Yeah.
taking taking care of herself. So
Yep.
that's about it. Jim?
So
I went first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it looked like Bench Addict went down the rabbit hole again. For those of you who aren't on Discord, Bench Addicts seems to be one of those guys that winds up with the best of everything, kind of like Paul. And he's been struggling. He's been trying to eliminate variables like we all do. And so he said, been busy figuring out how to get more consistent seated primer depth. Spoke with Eric Cortina, Thomas Speedy Gonzalez, and Greg Dykstra from Primal Rights and got socked for $800 on another tool. So he'd been debating in the last 3 weeks on whether he was going to buy a Primal Rights one or not. So,
well, he had already bought the Primal Rights. He got socked for another tool that measures his primer's pocket, primer seating depth. That's what he got socked with. So, yeah, he already had the Primal Rights seating tool. That was, plus the area. What is it? Area 1.
419.
No, Area 1 bench mount for the Primal Rights tool, which is another couple $100. I mean, yeah, he's all set up.
There we go.
It's not socked. He's just reliable, proven human research and product sharing availability. I was thinking of a BS name to justify his purchases. No judgment. We've all been suckered into extra things.
Yep. So Truth has a question. Says, in the past, I ran a couple of patches of Rem oil through the barrel until a gunsmith told me Rem oil should only be used on the outside of a barrel. Any of you heard this? If so, what do y'all use? So the reason you only want to use Rem oil on the outside of the barrel is Rem oil, when it gets dried up, turns very gummy. So that's why. You can use it on your barrel, but the problem is a lot of people, when they use Rem oil on their barrel, they use way too much, and then they let it sit, and then it dries, and it becomes basically like gum.
Yep.
So,
and then you need the nylon brush and more and number 9 or something to get it out.
Yep.
Otherwise, it can cause problems in your barrel.
Yep.
If you're gonna put it in your barrel, dry your barrel after you're done, before it has a chance to dry up, like Mike said.
Honestly, I use Otis's CLP. Because I use Otis's cleaning kits. So I've had one for, crikey, it's been 25 years. And so I use Otis's CLP, honestly, is what I use. Paul, what do you use? Oh, great cleaner of the barrels.
Would you believe I use HBN2 and alcohol?
You're supposed to use the alcohol in the barrel, or do you drink the alcohol? Or is it both?
I make a slurry out of the HBN2, and after I've cleaned my barrel and dried it well, it will get a patch of Kroll, and very lightly go through the barrel, and then I will put a patch of the HBN2 and denatured alcohol down through it. And it's really not a patch. It's I don't know if I got any here or not. I use these bore swabs. They're foam swab that I go through, and it will leave a small amount of HBN2 and alcohol down the bore, and that's what I use on it. And it's never had any rust or anything else with using it that way.
Yeah.
Kroll will get underneath anything that if there's anything left, which there shouldn't be.
Right.
But yeah, and the HBN2 gets set into the any firecracker or anything else that you have in the bore, and kind of lubricates it and helps it keep from burning up. So that's me.
Jim.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Number 9.
Do you put any lube down it afterwards or no?
No.
Okay.
I keep my barrels. Well, I do, but then I turn around, practically dry the darn thing out.
Okay.
Just enough to take and keep the humidity off of it. I mean, sheen it. I don't mean sheen until you leave a finger film on it,
Mm-hmm.
but just enough to be able to, you might leave a fingerprint.
Yeah. I suppose I should probably qualify what I actually do. So, with for those of you who don't know the Otis cleaning kit, I can't grab it. Lab's in the way. They use a cloth type cleaning patch, and then basically they have a brush kit, brass brush, and then they have a coated steel cable with brass ends that you feed through the chamber and pull out the muzzle. So you run the brush through like you normally would, and then you run the patch through, and the patch has a CLP lubricant, so it's doing all the things at once. And so it'll leave just a light film behind is all it does. I suppose I probably should have explained that part of it. So, Ray, what do you do?
Well, a lot of it depends on what gun I'm cleaning. If it's a modern gun, I'll just use Hoppy's number 9. Clean the bore with the Hoppy's number 9. Then I'll probably follow it up with some COP, one of several different brands. And if it's a modern barrel, I'd somewhat mostly dry it out. If it's no mill surplus, still use Hoppy's number 9. Depending whether I've got a lot of copper fouling, I may use a little bit of sweets to start with. Just don't keep it in there very long. Clean that out. Hoppy's number 9, more COP. And if it's a older barrel, I might leave a little bit of the oil in there, and before I get to shoot it again, run a couple dry patches through just to get the oil out. So a lot of it depends on what
type of gun.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, Nick, you're pretty similar.
Yep, I've actually started using a lot of Ballistol.
Yeah.
In the cleaning.
It's a nice foam. It does a good job. And especially on the old black powder stuff, you take that and you take a little bit of, I believe, water. I haven't done it yet, but you make what's called moose milk, and it helps really dissipate all that black powder fouling.
Well, you're doing that with the liquid Ballistol.
Yeah, with a liquid Ballistol. Yep.
Oh, okay. So for black powder, I'd literally just use Dawn dish soap and water.
Yeah.
That's the tried and true method, but a lot of people have started using this moose milk, which is Ballistol and water.
That's been around a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of re-emerged itself. But I've always heard good stuff about it here recently, and that's probably what I'll start doing.
Yeah.
Is that stuff, especially cleaning, especially when you're cleaning like bolt face and all your other external parts that you take off. Just spray a little bit of that moose milk in a spray bottle, take your toothbrush, wipe it off.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But is that what you're leaving in the barrel though?
No, I take it dry at that point.
Okay. And then you put your Ballistol or something like that.
I put a patch of Ballistol because it leaves a nice little coating. So it's a nice preservative too. That's the nice thing about the Ballistol.
Now, what about, has anybody tried patch out an accelerator?
No. Sharonda?
So I got a couple different, depends on the time of the year and if I'm traveling too. But for the most part, I'm using Hoppies. I like Breakthrough when I'm traveling because it's a
CLP.
compact set. Yep. It's a compact set too, so I like that. I like Cleanse Oil as well.
Hmm.
And I'll use Ballistol depending on who else's gun I'm cleaning. I keep my stuff pretty clean, but I've had some people, especially working at the gun store part time, where I have to pull out some heavy duty stuff to clean theirs or clean my friends. But for the most part, I mainly oil my barrel in the winter time because I'm usually hunting in the snow or the
Yep.
rain. So I like to put a little coating on there so my barrel doesn't rust in the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm traveling, I'm using Breakthrough or Cleanse Oil because I have a little kit. But if I'm at home, I'm predominantly using a Hoppies kit. And I usually just put a little dab on a little swatch or swab and just kind of go in and out. Nothing thick, just enough to make me question. I think it's enough.
I used to use the Birchwood Casey stuff. I still do occasionally, depending on what it is, but gun scrubber and then sheath. But sheath, anytime I oiled the barrel at all, ever in my entire life, even on the rare occasion I used Rem oil, very light on a patch, and you run the patch through. So it's just very, very light. So.
I think the trick is just make sure you clean.
Yeah, I got it. That was the one thing with my 795. That's what ended my shooting day. Is I forgot that when I put it back in the gun cabinet the last time after shooting it, I didn't clean it. So I always keep a spray can of Royal Purple synthetic lube in there, and so spray, work, spray, work. But when I pulled the bolt back, when it started to get gummy again, I can literally see the anybody who shoots a lot of 22s, they're dirty. They're just filthy, and they leave residue everywhere in the rails on the receiver. And I pull it back, and I can literally see where there's supposed to be a space in between a couple of like basic guide rails on the receiver. It's caked. I'm like, ooh, this one's gonna need a serious cleaning. So yeah, I've got some gun cleaning to do.
Well, this stuff here and mixed with this here, this is patch out and this is accelerator. When they get together and you put the accelerator in first to clean,
Yeah,
and then come through with this, it starts to foam inside the barrel, and you can let it sit there overnight if you want, and it will loosen up just about everything inside the barrel. It does pretty good.
how's it do on AR bolts?
I have not tried it on an AR bolt yet, so
Because that seems to be the biggest thing, is getting carbon buildup off the AR bolts to the point where they make all sorts of frickin' tools for it. So I'd be curious to see how that works. I just toss the dang thing in my ultrasonic.
well, that's what I do too on an AR bolt. I mean, you really,
But not everybody has an ultrasonic, so
I'll try it out.
yeah, just curious.
Yeah.
So Oder wants to know, our friend from Iceland, since you were talking about barrel cleaning, brush type, steel, copper, or nylon?
Nylon.
Never steel.
Yeah, I was about to say never steal.
Nylon if you can.
Yeah.
Nylon.
Sometimes it's not an option, so then the copper or the bronze. But pay attention very carefully.
I will use a copper brush on if we get an older firearm that's got a lot of pitting and copper buildup in it. Use corrosive primers, and some of those initial scrub outs I use a copper, but then I'll end up with a nylon once we're all said and done.
Yeah.
the disadvantage of using copper brushes is because anything like with ammonia-based solvent like sweets or something like that,
Destroys your
will-
brush.
it's right. It will destroy the brush.
That's the
Yep.
same thing with if you're using the brass brushes. It will destroy it. Why? Because copper's part of brass.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just find that it's easier to chemically clean a barrel of copper than to have to resort to a bronze or copper brush.
Hmm.
If it's really bad, or if I go prairie dog hunting and I've put 300 rounds down the gun during the day, which is not unusual, I will resort to Kroll's and then a tight patch with JB compound,
Yep. About ready to mention I done the same.
and that will clean everything. That one, it will really clean a barrel clean. It doesn't care whether there's copper, carbon, or anything else in there. It will get it out. And it's usually 2 patches of Kroll, and then take a Kroll soaked patch, and then put the JB bore paste on it, and start making full pushes through the barrel, and all the way to the end, then come back, keep going back and forth, maybe 10, 15 times, put a patch of Kroll through it. If it starts coming out clean at the end of the couple of patches of Kroll, then put a bore scope down it, take a look. If there's still copper or anything else in there, back to the JB, and it works. That's all. I mean, it's an abrasive. Yes, it is an abrasive, but it will not harm a barrel that I have found. I've never worn out a barrel with JB. But I think the Kroll is an important part of it. Kroll is have you used Kroll, Jim?
No.
Okay.
I've not used it on guns. I've used it in other applications.
Yeah, I've used it for a penetrating oil to break heavy bolts loose, stuff like that. No, I've never used coil on firearms.
Don't use WD-40.
No.
It's a preservative. It's not a lubricant.
That's fish oil.
No, tidbit about WD-40. We actually use it for extruding aluminum or stamping aluminum. Just stamping it like into a disc mount.
Okay. Sorry to be crass, but a lot of people call it angel piss. Okay, I mean,
Never heard that one.
It just works wonders in getting underneath things and loosening things up. So
I can't tell you how many screws, bolts on milsurps I've had to use Kroll on to get loose. It's probably 20 or 30 easy.
Coil and
Sounds
heat.
like I
does
need to get
wonders.
some.
Coil and heat, exactly.
putting together an AR-15, you got that little pin to knock in where your magazine release is. You got to put that in. Put a drop of Kroll on there, and it goes right in. The same thing on your in your trigger housing. How many people have you seen break a trigger housing because they don't they try to tap in that little roll pin, and there's just a couple of ears there holding it. That Kroll lets that thing slide right in, so it does wonders. And for cleaning a barrel, it's been around. It's a long time. You can go on Brownells, and they will explain how to use it in cleaning a barrel.
I've heard wives' tales Coil can affect your bluing, though. I don't know if that's true or if you leave it on too long.
I don't know. I've never. I don't use it on the outside of a barrel, and I use do I have any here? I don't. Here we go. I use these
Yeah.
when I'm cleaning a barrel. So, and these are fit to the chamber.
Right.
So, like this one's for 223, 20, 222, 20 caliber, 204 Ruger, 17 rem. That's what this one, and they come off, so you can actually switch these out. Whoop. And you can, put another one on. And well, they're out here somewhere, but they have an O-ring seal on them, and you can, it keeps the chamber clean and prevents the rod from rubbing in it. And you have a port to put in your solvent, and you can use a little bottle like this and put your drops in and go from there.
Yeah, I use one very similar to that. I was thinking more like if you're, like Nick was saying, trying to loose a screw externally. Once you get the screw out, make sure you wipe all that coil off.
Yeah.
We could test that, Dad.
Yeah, we could.
It's actually a cool idea for a test for a video.
Probably already been done.
It probably has.
What grease can be used on Glock CZ slides? I use
I don't use grease, but I don't have a Glock or a CZ. So, but when I did have a Glock, I didn't use grease.
Glock even tells you go sparing on the oil.
Was it 4 spots? I think.
Four drops is it.
2 on your guides, 1 on your tilt and lock, and
On the angled part of the slide, the barrel.
The tilting lock of your barrel extension, I think is what they call it. I don't remember exact definition.
this is Shooter's Choice grease. I use it on 1911 slides, and I use this also on M1A bolts, M1 Grand bolts. If you're supposed to put grease on a M1A and M1 Grand on the, and this works because not everybody can get the.
Is it temperature sensitive, or does
No,
it doesn't poop up?
It doesn't. No, minus 65 to 350.
Okay.
So, and the only time I do not use this on inside of a firing pin. That's the only thing I will tell you. The only thing to use on the inside of a firing pin is naphtha. The firing pin spring on a bolt action gun is use naphtha. Just a light coating, and that way you don't get anything.
Any hang-ups?
Any hang-ups. Problem with grease is on the inside of a bolt is that the firing pin is pulled back, and there's usually some holes somewhere in the bolt somewhere, and dust and junk can get in there and can cause real problems with grease. So AR-15 bolts you can use it on. I use it on on anything like that. Oil. Oil on a slide on some of them, yes, okay, but I like just a very, very light coat of grease. I mean, not put it on, take it off, okay. It's just a touch, and you're not trying to grease up a 320 cat excavator. You're
On my Canic, I just used graphite. Like liquid graphite. I took the slide apart, taped off what I didn't want the graphite in, and that's what I used. And that thing's got 5,500 rounds through it. I don't know what I'm going to use on my uncle's 45 when I tear that thing apart, but that thing sticks bad. So something. But
Start with a good penetrating oil.
yeah. Oh, I'm going to use gun scrubber on that sucker when I clean it.
Slides that stiff on it, huh?
It's I think it's because it's filthy.
Oh, it's filthy. Okay.
A lot of people won't take their guns apart to clean them because they don't know how to put them back together.
Correct.
It's a shame to say, but I actually had to have Glock teach me how to field strip my own.
Nothing wrong with that.
They did too, right there at the gun show.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, it was the NRA convention, one of the conventions.
The only thing I wish Glock would do is I wish they would fix it so you don't have to use the trigger. The only thing I wish that Glock would do.
Why do you say that?
It's a staple gun, guys. Come on.
You have to use the trigger. You have to use the trigger to break it down.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
That's how. There's probably been 20 or 25,000 negligent discharges because idiots didn't make sure the Glock was empty before they pulled the trigger to break it down.
Poke a hole in the wall or something.
And I'm pretty damn sure that number is low. So
that's the number one rule of firearm safety and maintenance. Check to make sure. Check the chamber, make sure it's empty.
So
then check it again.
Yeah, but see, the problem is you get idiots that leave loaded mags in it. So then they go and eject the round. Well, then they let the slide go slamming back forward. It picks the next round up and puts it in the chamber. And then they drop the magazine.
Yep.
Mike, you and I know, well, Shrina knows this as well, or anybody that's worked at a gun store. That is the very first thing you do. It's just second nature to drop the magazine and then rock the slide back.
Yep.
It's second nature. You even do it on your own guns when you pull them out of the safe and you know they're empty. It's second nature.
Yep.
I got a story. There's a place in just outside of Chicago, Sig Shores Firearms. I was walking up to the door, and all of a sudden there was a round that was discharged just inside, and I was down on the ground by the time but it was too late. Once you hear the shot, it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
Carefully walk in the door, and the guy was sitting there holding a revolver up in the air like this and saying, "But it was empty."
Sure it was. That was an imaginary round that just went off. Dumbass.
Always first thing to do, remove the source of ammunition. Period.
Yep.
Well, what can I tell you? People look at you funny when you're laying on the ground as they're walking by after a gun goes off, and they didn't even notice it.
What brand revolver was it?
It was a K-frame. Okay.
So they could So they could have popped the cylinder out and ejected all the brat.
Yeah.
They just didn't.
Yeah.
It's simple, kids. Count your shells. Dumbasses.
It's simple. When you take the gun out of the pouch, open the cylinder up, okay? Look again, and then when you hand it to somebody, hand it to them open like that. That way they can see too.
Yep.
I hate it at a gun shop. You go in there, they rack the slide, they check, they look at it, they close the slide, they hand it to you. Now I have to manipulate the slide and for me to check. No, just hand it to me because you've already checked it. I want you to tell me that, it's an empty gun. I don't want you to hand me a closed gun.
I hand it to them open, so that's a way to tell and see if they actually have a clue what they're doing.
Right. That way
it's an awesome first step to try and find a straw purchase. Because if the person has absolutely no clue what they're doing and they're in there only for a straw purchase, they're not going to know what the hell they're doing.
I can usually find it before that.
Yeah.
if they're on their phone and then looking down and the other time, the only time I hand a gun after I've checked it, slide closed, is if a lady was coming in to try to find a carry gun, because I need to know if she can rack that slide. That's the only time I would hand a gun slide down.
Yeah. Anybody. I always hand it to them, slide open, have them
I wanna-
shut it, and then they
yeah.
can rack it from there.
Yeah, I want to see if they can close it, because if they know how to close it, then okay, then I know what they're smart enough to handle at least that gun. If they don't know, I'm expecting them to ask a question. Okay,
Mhm.
please, show me how this works. I'm new at buying a gun, or I'm new at shooting. How do I close this?
Yep. Now, if they keep the slide racked open and look down the sights while the slide's open, then you're just like,
Yeah.
I have to go a little bit extra now. We have the 18-year-olds coming in now with parents, and the girls have they're teenage girls. They have the long fingernails. I have to always make sure that they're not getting ready to snatch a fingernail off.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because the guys will be like, "Oh, I didn't think about that." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's why y'all have me here."
Right?
Shrinda, all I have to say is I hate Rico. I'm just gonna leave it there.
What's Rico?
Rocco?
What did I say? Rico Rocco. I hate Rocco.
Yeah.
I don't
What'd he
hate him.
do?
I strongly dislike Rocco.
Uh-huh. We'll have to talk about that offline. I want to hear the reasons why.
No, it's only because he talks Nick into buying old guns.
Well, so hilariously, the firemen that work there, they always tell me I make them buy stuff.
I could see that.
I mean, I think that's probably the excuse they tell their wives when they go home with something new. Surrender made me buy it.
Mhm. All right, gang. So, what's this, and can we learn from it?
Bunch of holes in it. Target with a bunch of holes in it. That's what it is.
For this one? No, not really, because a lot of those holes are 22. So, no, that's not going to do us any good. But these are my those are my two targets from when I was out at the range a week ago. Working on, I bought a couple of Pro Mags for my Marlin 795 because, frankly, I needed mags for my 795, and that's the only freaking mags you can find for that gun without paying like $90 for them at a freaking gun show. And so I was just plinking. I wasn't even really aiming. Open sights. And what I had to do is they put tabs on this freaking magazine that don't belong there. And so you got to file them off. So get the Leatherman out, file down, see if it fits right, and see if it feeds right. File it down again if it didn't. So, but by the end, which was the second target, I did get it. So it was feeding a full 25 round magazine. So that was success. And then there's some 30-30 shots on there from my buddy that goes to the range with me, and he really hadn't shot long guns. He shot a shotgun when he was a kid, trap shooting, but nothing for rifles or anything. And so he was having fun shooting my grandpa's Winchester Model 94 with open sights at 25 yards and seeing how he could do. So, but are targets helpful? Paul?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Jim? Right.
Yeah. They
Go ahead,
tell me.
Paul.
They tell me a lot. They tell me a lot. Here's a target. Okay. So it's RL15. The center group is sighters to get it to where I'm going, because the gun was originally sighted in for 55 grain Blitz Kings,
Mhm.
These are 77 grain TMKs from Sierra. And what is a target telling me? Okay. I mean, um, the first group is kind of round. All right. So that's a good group as far as telling me that the um, it telling me that the gun is shooting. Okay. In other words, round groups tell you that that's probably about the most accurate you're going to get at that powder charge. Um, we got a vertical string on number 3 here, and we're only going up 0.2 of a grain in powder at the time, but we got kind of a horizontal and a vertical string. And there's a large uh, shift vertically between the lower one and the top one, and that's putting us over an inch in size. Going to number 4. Now all of a sudden we've switched to horizontal, and so that's not the wind. Could it be the shooter? Yeah, could be. But we're still at that 1 inch mark. We're not improving anything on as far as the group size is going, other than double grouping in there. And down to the bottom, we're opening up again. So that's telling me that powder is not working consistently for that that load. Let's try another one. All right, this is Power Pro Varmint. This is an Alliant powder again. Number 1, not a round group. It isn't doing anything. As far as it's going, it's a little over an inch. Not a particularly telling group as far as it goes. Dropping down to number 2 down here, we're looking at a little horizontal movement in there, and okay, but still it's widening out. It's an inch. Come over here to number 3, 24 grains. Boy, we're getting a nice 3 shots into there, and then all of a sudden we start throwing flyers on it. Possibly me. Yeah, that one could be me. Go to number 4. Number 4 is showing some real promise here. Nice round group, pretty tight with 3 shots. Number 4 is just a little out. Number 5 is a little bit out. Yeah, okay, I could work with that load. That one is a definite possibility. Now, I did take chronograph data on that, and the chronograph data on that load is a little off track. Not exactly the best. ESs was about 50, and the SD was about 22 or something in that area. So, and then we go to number 5 on that. 3 shots down, 2 shots up. Okay. Difficulty, but again, it's definite some possibility, but I don't think so. I think by those 2 coming out that far, that's not a load. What's anybody thinking? Okay. we'll stop that one. Let's go to the next one. Go ahead.
I take that upper right hand target any day. That's pretty
Okay.
good group.
This is everybody's favorite powder. Don't mind these 4 shots over here. An 1.5 inch starting load with Varget. Okay, not exactly telling. Horizontal stringing on the on load number 2. Same thing with load number 3. Going vertical on 4. And then we come down to number 5, and all of a sudden we're starting to show something here at somewhere about a little over a 1/2 inch, almost 3/4 of an inch. SDs were a little better on it. And I think you guys need to know a little more about what we're doing here. So hold on a second. And I'm going to share a file so you guys can get an idea of what exactly we're looking at here. All right. Brass has once fired Lapua 223 match, 1 box, all 1 lot. It was annealed, neck turn, flash holes were reamed, and primer pockets were reamed and leveled out. Bullet is a Sierra 224 TMK 77 grain. Primer 7.5 Remington. Powders are H4895 Varget, Power Pro Varmint, and RL15. Overall length is long, 2.448. This is it's got a long throat on it. Okay, guys. All powders were loaded starting at max load by the book, and then reduced by 2/10 of a grain for each 5-shot group. Shooting was done from lowest to high, no overpressure with any loads. The rifle is a Remington 700. The action's been blueprinted by LRI out of South Dakota. Barrel is a Remington Varmint Contour Krieger 1 1/8 twist installed by LRI. The stock is HS Precision with adjustable comb and buttstock. It's been bedded. Bottom metal is Pacific Tool and Die detachable ACS. Unless you're using HS Precision, you need to have the stock inletted for that bottom metal, which was done by LRI. Trigger is a Calvin Elite Custom Remington Model 700. Trigger is set at 1 pound 2 ounces. Barrel is 4 years old. There are 2,850 rounds downrange before this string. Was last shot at 100 yards on the 15th of June of this year. Average group size at that time with 55 grain bullets was a .550 to .650. The gun can shoot better than I can, guys. Okay, all right. It'll probably shoot a 1/4 inch. I'm not that good anymore. The scope is a Burris Veracity 4-20. Here's your weather. Morning start 11 a.m. It was bright sunny, temperature 73 degrees. Afternoon ending 3 p.m. bright sunny 82. Shooting range was Atterbury Shooting Complex, 100-yard range. Wind not a factor due to the range setup. There are 10 100-yard bays with 25-foot high walls on each side for 50 yards. Backstop is 50 yards tall and has 50 to 75 feet berm above it.
What do you use for a rest? I think I missed that.
Oh, a rest is a I use my lightweight rest on this one. I use my Codwell rock.
Okay.
Okay. And I use a heavy duty rear bag. So yeah, that's all been worked over. So I didn't bring my big heavy rest out because I'm tired of putting my seb together.
Yeah.
Um,
When I'm using load development, I'm either using a lead sled if I remember to bring it. I don't put weight on it typically, just as a stable platform. Otherwise, I have another rest that I got from Sportsman's Guide many years ago. It's got basically a U in the front that you can set the foregrip on and then kind of clamp it down, and then it's got the V groove that the buttstock goes in, and then the buttstock can go clear against your shoulder, unlike the lead sleds where it's actually got that backing on it. So, but I don't usually shoot off bags when I'm doing load development. So,
okay. Let's see if I can.
he's digging for something.
Yeah.
STLA or STL Ammo Man got his CMP 1911 today. Field grade, Colt frame and slide. Nice.
Here's my back rest. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what we call a 2-stitch bag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's 2 stitches up here. So that gives me about a 1/2 inch in between for the buttstock to ride in.
Yep.
Reduce the ears somewhat. They're hard when you get them. I reduce the sand in there slightly, but each ear is adjustable. You can put whatever sand you want into it and take out what you need to get it to run until you get it hard enough to shoot. And then you have another place to put sand in the main body. And then there's 3 layers of leather to give you your handle. So, yeah, I want the gun to run in the bag. So in other words, it's got to be able to slide back and forth.
Yeah.
In there. I've never tried a
any other sort of rest.
Any other sort of rest other than my seb or the rock.
Yeah.
From Caldwell.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the difference with dang it, go away. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. That's kind of the difference between you and me is back when you started shooting, the bags were kind of it. And so you got to being really good with that. And where I started shooting, bags were one of the options, but then there was also the shooting rests.
Sure. I like the seb a lot. But they're expensive. I gotta tell you, not everybody is going to want to spend the money on a seb.
Yeah.
Even if they buy one used, it's going to cost them close to $1,000. and then you got to put it together when you get there, and and it weighs close to 40 pounds, so it doesn't move,
Right.
And they're getting lighter. Some of them are getting lighter. There's also now he's making, the is X pods and everything else, and they're really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's money.
Right. And some of it depends on what you're doing and so on and so forth. So now, is this Seb something you can use when you're prairie dog hunting?
Definitely, yes. But then I know I'm going to be there for 8 hours, and I don't mind setting up, and putting it on the bench and then working it that way. And I can also set it up on the ground if I have to,
Right.
Interchangeable feet on it. You're not just limited to wood points or whatever. I got sand points that are, 1.5 inches wide, where you put those down, and you can level your rest up and raise your rest up and down from there. There's a crank on the side that brings it up and down. Okay, so you're not trying to do a wheel underneath it, but you have an actual crank, so you can just do a quick go, and then you have a stick underneath it that gives you like 5 or 6 mils going up and down and left and right, as far as where you're at as far as on your target. So it's a joystick control, and you can let go of the joystick and it stays there, so you can adjust, leave it, and then go. And then when you come back, reset for the next shot, you do the same thing.
I kind of took it a little on their simpler thing. I know one thing I do when I take new handgun shooters out to teach them, I kind of use one of these type targets to help them adjust where they're hitting, because it tells them exactly whether they're doing too much trigger, not enough trigger. They're easing off, anticipating recoil, and it gives them a little feedback on what they're doing.
Yeah, it does. That for a handgun shooting, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to develop a load out of this,
Right.
and I'm sitting there looking at a 223 long range, load that I can shoot at 700-800 yards,
Right.
and a 1/2 inch group, which was the best one we had there, did not show enough promise.
Yeah.
Okay, for that, and we got what do we show? 2 targets, so 3 targets already. We got one more target
Right.
I can show.
But you've been shooting long enough. You've got probably a little bit of an idea. Once you pull the trigger, you can kind of call your shot a little bit. You've got a pretty good idea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed in shooting 100 rounds and having one group.
Yeah.
Okay, and this shows here the same thing. We got kind of a round group. I wouldn't even call it a good group. It's about 1 inch on the center one. The next one is an inch, almost 1.25 inches. The next is too high, too low, and one in between. And all of a sudden, with 22.6 grains, boy, I got 4 right in there. And then all of a sudden, the 5th one, no, ain't there. Okay. And I went to the last one, and this was the last target of the day. I fired 3 rounds, looked at it, and I said, nope, not even going to bother the next 2. When you're shooting a 1-inch group out of 3 rounds. Interesting group is the number 4, and because you're sitting there, you're looking at 4 rounds through 1 hole. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I want 5 rounds through that 1 hole. Throw the one out, and what we got? Less than a half an inch. It's a third of an inch.
Something like that.
There's 1-inch gradients on that.
Yeah, 0.357. Okay. Edge to edge, not center to center. Edge to edge. So, okay, that's that's a doable group. Now, next question I have is, this gun has got 2,950 rounds down the barrel. And they're not easy rounds on the gun.
Yeah.
Okay. They're prairie dog shooting, so you're sitting there, 200, 300 rounds in a day on this gun for 3,000 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's throated long to begin with because it's a national match chamber. And people who use natural match chambers usually throw 80 grain bullets down that 1 1/8 twist from Sierra. So it's a long jump. And what are you guys thinking about, the barrel shot out?
Could be. It's within the realm of possibility.
Jim?
I concur with Mike. Possible.
What about our audience out there? What do they think?
I mean, looking at the results, knowing all of that, it's entirely possible. But especially with how much you've put through it and knowing that it's a prairie dog barrel. But the question is, you're the shooter, you're the loader.
Uh-huh.
Do you think it is?
Well, I'm just trying to bring it to the panel here and to the people out there, what they're trying to think about it. I mean, what would they look at it as when they're looking at putting 100 rounds down a barrel like that and getting two groups?
Well,
Myself?
Paul, I was going to say, most barrels aren't shot out until they hit 5K.
Okay.
I would probably try to let another shooter shoot the gun with your loads to see if they're getting tighter groups than it would be shooter.
Okay.
Because we know, that's as the older we get, we can't shoot as well as we did when we were younger.
Right.
That's true. That's true. I miss more now than I used to.
Yeah, but minding the details helps. You know that, Paul.
With those new loads, Paul, or I thought.
Yeah, they were all just put together within the last week.
Okay, I know you've got data on older loads that were good loads. You could go back to just reload them and try them to see what they're doing.
Well, this is back at the 15th. Okay. Do we see 100 yards? This is 55 grain bullets here. All right.
Hold it. Yeah, thank you, Mike. Hold it still so we can see it. First target on the left, our left. Second target, target number 1, target number 2. The first target's a cider.
Mhm.
Hell, the cider target is almost the best one. Best target, number 1.
Okay.
One whole group. 5 shots together, but it's probably not more than 3/4 of an inch.
Oh, it's less than 3/4 of an inch. They're all less than 3/4 of an inch.
I'm not knocking what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what my perspective is.
Right.
2,000 miles away, 1,000
Yeah.
miles away. Can you hold it up a little higher, Paul, please? Oh, you don't have any holes in the bottom row.
There's nothing down the bottom. No.
I'd say you're doing some pretty good shooting, old man.
So, but that was with 55 grain. And to be honest, those were loaded a year ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Components change. Well, you know there's all kinds of variables been introduced in it last year, Paul. Primers change. I mean, hell, primers change from shot to shot.
but I'm just saying that those were loaded. Those rounds were left over from my last prairie dog shoot, which was over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything could have happened, they could have welded in. Anything else, okay. I'm not, I've saved those targets just to show, because I always save all my targets. I'm sorry, guys. I'm old.
Nothing wrong with that.
People can, look at my targets and see what's going on.
Oh, somebody's stirring it up tonight. That's aimed directly at you, Paul.
Yeah. Needs more. Yeah. I don't shoot a needs more. We got Paul Loud. You're next on the list, Paul Loud. Truth. You said you shot 100 rounds. I do not. 100 rounds is no. There's no cleaning in a barrel. Nope. Sorry. Don't touch it.
His question is, Paul, you said you shot 100 rounds. What's your technique? Example. After 5 shots, are you cleaning the barrel? That was his question.
Yeah. No, I'm not cleaning the barrel after every 5 rounds. No. What I do is I will shoot 5 shots into a group, put a chamber flag in it, get up, walk away from it, let the barrel cool down. Go up, do the same thing. 5 rounds, get up, walk away. Every round is single loaded. When I close the bolt, that means I'm ready to fire. In other words, I've already sighted down the barrel, sighted through the scope. I'm where I'm supposed to be. All I'm doing is closing the bolt and pulling the trigger. Reason for that is because of that way the cartridge doesn't get any extra heat or anything else into it that way. Yeah, I will do that, till and I make sure the barrel doesn't get hot. I just check the temperature with I have a laser temperature gauge, and I check to make sure that the barrel isn't getting hot on it when I'm testing loads. When I'm really testing for prairie dogs, then I'll let the barrel get hot and I see how much I'm going to open up. And barrels do get hot, but when you're out on the prairie.
Hell yes, they do. Even the sun will warm them up a good bit.
Yeah. So, Paul Loud, no barrel cooler. Nope. Just put a chamber flag in, get up, walk away. They run about every 20 minutes between rounds. So you can guess that I probably get about 15 minutes to put 5 rounds down. Then I put a chamber flag in it, and it takes about 15 more minutes by the time everybody comes back from putting targets up and everything else at that range. And so it's a good call it a half hour between, between ends of beginning a string and beginning of the next string, which is not stressing the putting a lot of heat down a barrel.
No, not at all.
So
When I'm working a load, a minute, but a minute between shots, maybe.
mm-hmm.
Usually, it's more like 30 seconds. So,
Sure.
So
I was taught by people that bench rest shooters, take your shot, see what, if anything's changed, okay, load your gun, take your shot. Some of these guys would take, you could almost take a cigarette break in between their shooting.
yeah.
Other guys, were like machine guns. They got the flags and the wind and everything else, and it was just, once they were set, it was just bang, 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 5 shots. And but most of the time it was, shoot, look at your conditions. I had great conditions because it's shooting it's like actually shooting in a tunnel. It is, there's no wind that you could really consider where I was at.
Yeah.
And the most I had was some mirage, and it was easy to deal with. Let the barrel cool a little bit longer. The mirage shield on the gun, works good. So that's pretty much that.
Okay. So, I do like the idea of maybe having somebody else shoot the 5-shot groups of the 2 best groups.
Okay.
So that might be an option. There's also a suggestion. I don't know if you saw it. Some fool actually isn't a fool because they had a good idea. Cast the chamber, see where the throats are eroded to.
Don't need to. I really don't need to. I can look at it.
Yeah.
I have a
horoscope.
Yep. So I can look at it. I can measure where where it's at, and I know where it started. So it has moved. I'm not going to lie. It has moved, and it's pretty long. It is pretty long.
So.
Yeah, so if it's changed, it is going to affect your group size. But at what point do you say, well, is it eroded too much? Time to replace it.
Right, and if you look at the, go ahead.
Is that the one you were talking about the other day?
Yeah.
In the chat where you're talking about what it's eroded to and what your OAL is?
Right.
Oh. Yeah, maybe that's the problem then. If you didn't mention those numbers tonight, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Maybe I missed that part.
OAL was 2.448. Okay. Now then, let's see.
Paul Loud says he'd be willing to take those shots just to confirm the barrel's worn out for you. So.
$50 grainer. Okay. This is a 50 grain Hornady VMAX.
Mhm.
It's loaded at 2.270. Okay, this will feed out of a magazine on a what do you call it? This will shoot consistently at a half inch at 100 yards out of that gun.
Okay.
Before, okay. Now 2.448 is 8 and yeah, we're right there. And
Paul Loud, how do you have new rifles with worn out barrels?
don't know.
They're obviously, maybe they're new to him.
Yeah, that could be. That could be.
Hi, did you miss me? So on my, I've got one of those fancy mice that has the forward and back buttons on the side. Every once in a while, when I go to grab the mouse, I accidentally hit the back button, and then I go poof.
Here is an AICS magazine with one of those loaded in.
Yep.
And I will.
That's a solution. Although the reason for shooting the prairie dogs in the first place, Paul, is that they are destroying the area and putting holes in the ground. So we don't want tannerite to make more holes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, trust me, they would just use dynamite.
Okay. Can we see the difference between two loaded in the same magazine?
Let me put you on solo. There you go. Oh, just a wee bit difference.
Okay.
Just a wee bit of difference. Hi. Somebody just drove by the house and honked, so hi.
That's the difference.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of difference. But the bullet weight's different too.
Yeah, 77. So you're talking about 27 grains worth more bullet.
Right. So you've got a lot more
Yeah, you have a lot more there.
surface.
You know, but when you go to load this, these are loaded long.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the lands, but I can't get to the lands because the bullet falls out of the case.
Right.
So
Is it possible you might need one turn taken off the threads of the barrel and to deepen the chamber and of course bring that lead back?
I could do that. Yes, I could do that. Take a have them cut off a
one thread at least, maybe two.
No, I'd have them take more than that. I'd have them take a half inch off and have them thread it and redo it. If I want to save the barrel. Barrel's $410, guys. Okay. That's what a new barrel is. And chambering is another $300.
Paul, I got guns that I haven't paid $400 for.
Well, I know.
So do you.
Well, yeah, I know, but they all start out that way. Then they end up more.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say that, the only rifle is an accurate rifle?
No, the only interesting rifle is an accurate rifle.
Right.
That'd be
Okay.
Colonel Wayland, Townsend Wayland. Mike, I'm going to call it a night.
All right, Jim, you take care.
You guys, good night. Good night to the panel. Good night to the peanut gallery out there. 2A all the way. Support your Second Amendment rights, guys. They're going away day by day, little by little. I'm gone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Paul, at what distance is you shooting the prairie dogs? 200 or 300 yards?
That's with a 50 and 55 grain bullet. We started about 300, 350 yards to start with, and we go out to 600 to 800 yards.
Yeah. Ooh.
You get too close to them, and they go down their hole. They don't want to show up again.
Yeah. So that 1-inch group's going to open up quite a bit.
Right. You're 6 inches, so now you've definitely missed a prairie dog at 600 yards.
Right.
Oh, you can get lucky, but
Right. Yeah. That's why I understand why you're wanting to keep it as tight as you can.
Plus you got the wind and everything else to deal with, and mirage and all that when you're out in the field. So it's not like you're just sitting there shooting at a bench and at a stationary target. Those little suckers get up, move, sometimes you get them on the run too. So so far we have set the barrel back. Okay. We have a new barrel, and the other one is to go out and pick 3 of those loads out that we have our best groups out of, well, let's say 4, one out of each different powder that we've tried, reload the best group up and out of each one, and maybe get another shooter there that's proven to try shooting the gun.
I think that just give you something you feel comfortable with and give you some data to look at.
Okay. So as a group, though, as we look at the targets, what are we learning from the targets when we're sitting there looking at them? That's the important part.
It's not liking 77 grain bullets. We know that.
Right. But when we're looking at a group, we're seeing, a round group, we see vertical stringing, horizontal stringing, and everything else. And when we see a round group, we're thinking that's good. Okay. In other words, when I look at a target, I see a round group. All right. There's possibilities there.
But is it always a good thing?
Oh yeah. When I see a round group, yes.
Okay.
When I see vertical and horizontal, then I'm thinking, somewhat no. Okay. There are definite negatives going into those type of groups that we're dealing with here. Just so we know that H48 I'm going to share a screen again, guys, just so.
Paul Loud says get a ghillie suit and crawl in.
There we go.
Ghillie suit and a suppressor.
Uh-huh. Okay. This one here, this group here with 22.2 grains of 4895 at 1.23 inches had an SD of 3.7 and an ES of 10. Just so we know.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the flyer is?
That could be me now. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say is, could that, be me, knowing that
So the
that
thing
was,
you need. So the
yeah.
my suggestion on that is you need to either make the assumption that the flyers are you on all of these targets,
Okay.
or make the assumption they are not you and you're having problems with the loads, and in that case it would lean more towards the barrel being the problem.
Okay.
So that's kind of where you're at right now. That's why having somebody else shoot it would be a benefit, or having it some sort of way to lock it down, to eliminate that variable, or even though you've got the bags, is it possible that it's not exactly set up the same way every single time?
Okay.
Because I mean, there's sand and they move, so
Yeah.
and the bench isn't fixed, so
I wish the benches were concrete. They're not. They're wood. Okay.
right. So did you set it up in the exact same position every time? Did you set it up? Did you set up personally in the exact same position every time? That's the type of thing we're looking at eliminating here, and maybe you need to video yourself shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Go ahead.
Maybe I misunderstood you. Have you shot 77 grains out of this barrel in the past, or is this the first time?
I have shot regular 77 grain bullets in the past before, not the tipped ones. Okay.
Okay.
Tipped ones are longer than the standard ones. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gaining ballistic advantage by going with a tipped one. I can shoot. I have a box of 577 grain Sierra bullets.
Bless you, Sharinda.
Without the tips, so I can shoot those.
It may not hurt to take one of those tried and true loads you've got too, and in the same shooting session, shoot those, because then
shoot them next to each other.
Yeah, let the barrel cool and everything. That way, if you get the accuracy out of the 55 that works, and you go back to these 77s, it just may not like those 77 bullets.
That's one of the things I was thinking. It doesn't like these 77s, these tip 77s. Yeah. They're longer. Sierra says it has to have a minimum of 1 1/8 twist. The barrel has got a 1 1/8 twist. Does the barrel really like it? Well, who knows? I mean,
I ran like a 1 7 better.
You're right, or a 7.7 better. Here's the thing, Krager makes 1 1/8, and then they make a 7.7 barrel. Okay. So I can get either one, or I can switch. I have a Brooks barrel that's coming in 1 1/8 for a 22 bench rest. But I was hoping to use that for bench rest and not to replace a 223 barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a decision. Do I just throw the bullet away and say it isn't good? That's the next question. So I think I need to reload the better groups that we have here. Say 3 5-shot groups of each of the good groups with each powder. That way I have a group for me to shoot, 2 groups for somebody else to shoot, and then I have plenty of control rounds that we can use to shoot, to verify that the gun is shooting.
Yep. So Ken Brown wants to know, would the sub give you a more consistent point of aim?
At 100 yards, it's not really a big deal.
Okay.
You know, it's not. The other thing is that may be another thing too. Maybe switch a scope around. Maybe the crosshairs are too thick on this on this scope. It's a front focal plane scope. Maybe I switch it around to something that's got a little finer aiming point. Definitely could have it, you know, at 100 yards, a 20 power scope is okay. But it's got a pretty thick crosshair. So we could try something different there. I got a number of scopes I could work into it.
Yeah. What's the lowest power on it?
4.
Okay. Were you shooting at 20?
Shooting at 20, yes.
Maybe jack it
down some, yeah.
Yeah, go down to like 12 or so.
Okay.
Because at 100 yards, even with average to mid to low eyesight, 12 should still give you a clear enough picture of everything
Sure.
to be able to. And then your crosshairs are going to be thinner because it is a first focal plane. So
Right.
Oder said, "Wow, I do not agree with that, Mr. Mike. Let Paul, please don't call me Mr. But thank you. I appreciate the respect. Let Paul shoot it again about 5 or 10 more times, and then he will see what's going on. Maybe do bump it up to 10 round.
Okay. 10 round groups. Yep.
So it won't hurt. And then you're going to have better data on eliminating the flyer. So then you don't have to assume
Right.
that the flyer is you or the flyer is the load. So.
Yep.
And then Paul Loud, being the smart ass he is, said maybe if he just switched targets and start shooting the cows, he won't have to worry about group size as much.
Paul Loud, you just won yourself a dime.
So I'm gonna go scrolling back here a little bit because he's saying that Brian Litz said sample size is everything. So maybe going up to 10 round groups will help. And then he has a question. So, and I think this has more to do with translating than anything. He's still trying to learn the language. He says, if you need to shoot a rabbit at 600 yards, do you need to be precise or accurate?
You need to be accurate. Okay. Precision is 5 shots into an inch, and you don't care where it is on the target. Okay. That's precision. Accurate is hitting the dime at 600 yards and repeatedly. Okay. That's accuracy.
You kind of roboted a little bit on the precision. So if you could repeat that again.
Oh, okay. Precision is shooting a dime size group anywhere on the target. Okay. In other words, it's here's a target and it's 10 inches, but I can shoot precisely 5 shots into a 1 inch group at 600 yards.
Okay.
That's precision. Accuracy is saying I have 1 bullet, the rabbit is at 600 yards, and I have to hit that rabbit. And being able to hit that rabbit, that's accuracy.
So hopefully that clears that up for you, Oder. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of variables, some unknown, some known. But I think Oder's suggestion via Brian Litz of increasing the sample size is a really good idea.
Well, you know,
and then as well as getting somebody else to take a shot. So maybe you make up 20, 10 for you, 10 for them.
Okay. That's not hard to do.
Yep. And Ray Coronado Jr. said precision is consistency, which I would also agree with, which is kind of what you were.
Right. The consistency is being able to hit.
Yep.
You know, doesn't matter where you hit. You know, precision is being all the bullets are going, you know, in the one hole.
Yep. So
Accuracy is being accurate enough to put one bullet exactly where you want it to go.
Yep.
And that accuracy takes into consideration all the other variables that go into it. The precision of the load, the sighting in, the wind, the sun, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So
right. I do not recommend taking shots on rabbits at 600 yards.
Well, they got jackrabbits out there and they're free game. So
jackrabbits is a different story.
Yeah.
I'm talking. I want to make Hassenpfeffer rabbits.
Oh,
So.
okay. That's
Because
in the back. That's in the backyard.
Because that's a long freaking way to walk to get that thing.
Yeah, and if you don't hit it in the head, it's no good.
Yeah, there's no meat left.
Right.
Now, the nice thing is about using a 30-30 or a 30-06 at a rabbit at about 100 to 150 yards, takes the head clean right off.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and using a 50 or a 75 grain bullet at close to 3,000 feet per second is not conductive to recovering much of a body.
No, not at all. No.
Even if you do hit it in the head.
Right? Yeah. No. So Oder said what you're saying is PRS is really not true. It's ARS. No, it is PRS because you're not shooting just one shot. You're shooting multiple shot groups. And it's not necessarily. I understand where the difference is and where he gets the idea, but I would say that PRS is PRS, not accurate rifle shooting. So, because of the nature of the course of fire. So,
if it was a shooting competition, I would want accuracy over. In other words, I could take this gun at 1 inch, any of the 1 inch loads that I had here today, which were about half a dozen, right?
Yeah.
And I could shoot in a competition, PRS type competition with it without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Zero it up, get it centered up where it's supposed to be at 100 yards, and then go to work.
Yep.
And hit steel plates, out the 600 yards, not going to be a problem with the gun.
Nope.
The problem is that prairie dogs are 6 inches tall, 2.5 inches wide, and there's a difference.
Yep.
Most PRS you're shooting, most matches you're shooting are a
steel.
Target is steel. It's 18 inches tall.
And you just have to hit it.
Right. It doesn't matter where you hit it. You got to hit it. That's all.
Yeah. So 600 yards, you have, 18 by 18, and you put 5 shots on that 18 inch, say you literally stitch a line in a diagonal. Well, you've got an 18 inch or an 18 MOA group.
Right. But the hit.
Well, no, not 600 yards. 3 MOA group.
Right.
Whereas accurate, you're trying to put the shot where the crosshairs are.
Exactly.
So precision, you're trying to hit the target in the area that you're trying to hit. Accuracy, you want your crosshairs every single time you pull that trigger to be exactly where that bullet's going.
Right.
That bullet needs to go exactly dead straight where that crosshair is. that would be accuracy versus precision.
Right.
So, but Ray Coronado Jr. wants to know, have you tried shooting prone? It's way more stable in the bench. Yes, it is, but sometimes you can't, especially some ranges will not let you.
And then plus I'm an old man. I have this thing that's portable modular food storage system right, that makes it uncomfortable to shoot prone now.
Prone, yeah.
Yeah.
It gets in the way.
Yeah.
You can just do what the girls on the beach do, dig a hole for it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Most of the shooting ranges are concrete. It's I don't know.
That's prohibitive.
Yeah.
So. All right, gang, we've beat this to death. So. All right. So, want to talk about our sponsors, Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co. One of the things that they do and they're known for is their patch of the month. So this is July's, and they do a different patch every month. Ryan Cross draws it out, designs it up, and then Jake and Ryan work together, finalize the design, and away it goes. So, PatriotPatch.co. It's awesome. If you want to join that, just swing over there, sign up. Otherwise, if you want to join that and support the podcast, you can swing over to Patreon, find the Reloading Podcast, and we have a level where you can actually sign up for the patch of the month and help the podcast at the same time. So we'd appreciate it all. But more importantly, swing over to Patriot Patch Company, let them know we sent you. They make more than just patches. So PatriotPatch.co. So we live in a time where power's huge. Power's important. Power's vital, I dare say. Especially for somebody like Paul or I, where you use a CPAP. Some people can survive without a CPAP. Some people can't. Some people have medicine that needs to be refrigerated or food. And, you've got a freezer full of whatever. Are you prepared if you lose power? What if you had, and you can't tell me that you don't go without power. Paul lives near a major metropolitan area, and he was without power for almost a week.
3 full days, and that was a real problem.
That's not like he's Chris out in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming.
Right.
So, look at Texas last winter when they had the winter storms. They had places that were without power for a week.
Right.
Something to plan for. If you have items that you need, obviously food's the big need, but
well, no, refrigeration is a big need for me because of medicine.
Right. But I'm saying for most people on average, food,
Sure.
You can kind of make do, but that's where Four Patriots comes in. They've got an awesome solar power generator, so you don't have fuel to rely on. You can use it indoors without vapors and stuff like that. You don't have to have extension cords running in and out of the house because you got the generator outside. You don't have to worry about the fuel. You set the solar panels up and away you go. Check them out.
Just so you know, I mean, think about it. If the power is out and it's out for, this is basically it's a town of 50,000 people, although as soon as fall comes around, it will jump to close to 100. But fuel, gas stations are not working. Where do you get gas for that generator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't, you have to do something. I mean, what about being able to call to the hospital? Okay. If something happens.
Yep.
Keep your phone charged. You can't do that without power.
A lot of the cell towers nowadays are on a backup system. So if we lose power, the cell systems are coming back up shortly. So even if you don't have power, you can still you can still have the cell phones and stuff. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're checking them out. 4patriots.com. And they've not only do they have the generators, they've got all sorts of amazing stuff. They've got survival food, that comes prepackaged and stuff, and different things you can set up your own different things. They've got different meat packages and veggie packages and vegan stuff and all sorts of stuff. Check them out. 4patriots.com. If you use promo code FRN for your first order, you get 10% off. So swing by, check them out. Thanks to them for helping us out. Thank you to all our Patreons. Anybody got any shout outs?
Paul Loud, I expect you to give me your address on Discord on my private line, and then you will get your package.
All right. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Teach them shoot and reload when they're young.
Jump on the military short bus.
Teach a lady how to reload.
And let her pinch off your stash.
Don't forget pension. Just give her some, okay?
And Grandpa told me, he says, don't listen to your mama. He goes, violence does solve problems. And I guess we got to talk about one other thing, Mike. We forgot to talk about our hotline.
Yeah, we'll get there. But first, we got to just remind everybody, like Jim said before he left, support Second Amendment. Find a local group, find a national group that you can support them. Call your Congress critters. Oh, speaking of Congress critters, a couple senators or representatives, one of the two, I don't remember, suggested a bill today that will keep Congress critters and such from being able to own stock and other things. So that should help clean up all the insider trading crap that a lot of these schmucks are making their money off of. So make sure you call your Congress critters and find that out. You can find listings for the bills and stuff. I just saw a little blurb on it. I didn't catch the I don't even remember who it was that suggested it, but it'll make the news for a day or two. So, but make sure you call your Congress critters and tell them to vote yes for it. So,
and make sure the bill has where their spouses can't get in on it. Okay.
Right. So, and if you're suffering or suffering, make sure you reach out and get help. 1-800-273-8255 or 988 from your cellular device. Very important to reach out and get help. It's huge. We want you here. We need you here. Suck starting a shotgun is the easy and cheap way out. And it doesn't benefit anyone. So I guarantee you that no matter how bad off you think you are, there's at least one person, if not more, in this world that will greatly miss you if you decide that you need to check out early. So make sure you get some help. And on that note, have a good night.
Good
Thanks
night,
all.
all.